This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Wait, I have the music. There it is. A little loud, but there it is. Hey, everybody. Sorry for being discombobulated. It is the After Party live on a Waterfall Wednesday. We're going to the Middle East for waterfalls today. I want to talk about the Middle East anyways, and it kind of kickstarted my thinking. What kind of waterfalls are there in the Middle East? I mean, it's mostly desert in my mind. But let's take a look. And I found some really good ones. So we'll check that out today, because it's important to know what's going on around the world, right? And thank you for being here. I so appreciate you guys hanging out and chit-chatting and everything that's been going on. I can see that that's true. Rhonda, you did get a shout out. Mark enjoyed that you were going to Trader Joe's for free groceries, and we didn't know that was a possibility. So that was enjoyable. Ooh, look at this. Mama says her son has been officially diagnosed with ADHD. Wondering what would be helpful to put into his 504. I think it really depends on the son. My son also has ADHD, and I have to tell you that there are little things that have helped. I will tell you and share with you that perhaps when there's star testing, it's the craziest thing, Mama. One day the test will be, like it's almost like he didn't even take the test. Like the score is so low. They give it to him again the next day and it's off the charts. So they always make sure that if he does poorly on a star test, like a state test, that he's given a chance to retake it on maybe a day that he's paying better attention. And it's again wild, the difference between the numbers one day and the numbers the next. I mean, it's like it's not something you study for, so the knowledge is there. So how he could have such wildly different numbers is amazing. So that's one thing, that the ability to retake certain tests. Not always, because I don't think ADHD should be used as an excuse if you didn't study or if you didn't do the work, right? But if if you can show, as far as like these state tests that don't really matter for a grade anyway, that there is a difference. Something that's helped Jacob is also being able to, if there's a lot of chatter and people are supposed to be doing math work, being able to go outside and sit in a quiet area and do it. Being allowed to wear noise canceling headphones to block out all the noise helps him focus. Brown noise is helpful. Being able to go to the office if there's too much noise, and being able to sit in a quiet place in the office and do work if he needs to focus or do a test or something like that. Those things have helped. But I think it's more severe in some kids than in others. And so it just depends on what you see helping your child, little things like that. But please email me, kim@theafterparty.live, if you want any more info, if you have any questions. As someone who's kind of been through all this, at first it feels like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with my kid. And then you realize that most of us probably have ADHD anyway, and we're all fine and functioning adults, and he's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. It's just a matter of helping get through some of the school stuff to make sure that he doesn't feel like a failure when he can't pay attention, because that's not his fault. And also trying not to get frustrated at home when he doesn't listen or things like that, because then they can made to feel bad if they're constantly yelled at. So kind of realizing that he comes to things with some extra challenges, but also that having ADHD can open up new ways of thinking that maybe people that don't have it, wouldn't be able to do. So it comes with some benefits and some challenges as well. I hope that helped. I don't know. I didn't mean to go off on that tangent, but saw your message and thought maybe I could reply. Vineia says the system will discriminate against your child. And at one point I would have agreed with that, but I got to tell you that so many kids are being diagnosed with so many things now that it seems like almost half the class has ADHD. So I would disagree with that. I think that it's more common now than you would ever realize, especially in elementary school kids. And I don't feel like my child has been discriminated against at all. When my mom was teaching, and she was a school teacher for 40 years, she would say that, maybe at the end of the year when the teachers were divvying up the kids, that there was an attempt to try not to get a kid like this in your class. You can't do that anymore because there's so many of them that teachers now have had to adapt and figure out ways to teach. And I think, was it last year? Possibly 2 years in a row, Jacob had teachers that had ADHD and or had kids with ADHD. So they came to it with knowing about this and already knowing the challenges and ready to teach. So not always, I would say that maybe your experience is a little bit different than mine. And that's cool. But again, my experience with Petaluma City Schools has been a good one. And perhaps not everybody has had that experience, but I, it hasn't been, I would say it hasn't been a problem. Like I thought that it might be at the beginning of all this. Louise for $5. Kim, you are unapologetically still my favorite McAllister. Mahalo for being awesome. Mahalo to you for being awesome, Phineas. And thank you for the $5 contribution to the After Party Live. I really, really appreciate it. That's $5 from Louise with a really lovely message. Thank you so much. Heather says, I was not diagnosed until I was an adult. My mom wouldn't admit it, even if she had noticed how much I struggled. It was real good at I was real good at masking. Getting my diagnosis was a life-changing relief. See, and that's the thing, is like, you, as a mom, you don't want your kid to be diagnosed. The mindset that I found myself trying to get rid of is, I don't want him to have this, right? I don't want there to be something wrong with him. As a mom, you don't want your kid to have extra challenges. Some moms might go that care about appearances. I don't want that to be my child. But again, look at you, Heather. You're amazing. And it turns out that the way your brain is wired is incredible, and you're smart and wise and have this ability to think in ways that other people don't. So in your case, despite the challenges that it brought as a child, I think it makes you an incredible person and incredibly smart. So I don't know, but I'm sorry that you had that experience. And I have tried to not put any of those, extra thoughts on Jacob, because I think he's got enough to deal with. And I think when you see a kid struggling is when you really need to set your own preconceived notions about this stuff aside and figure out what's best for helping the kid. So I'm sorry that didn't happen to you, but I am glad that you finally figured it out in adulthood and now can look back at everything and it all makes sense, right? Trevor says, my parents' solution to ADHD, calm down and pay attention. Yeah, I'm sure they said that 50 million times, right? Mm. Vineia says Sonoma USD school district is different than other school districts. So that's the county-wide education office, but my school district is Petaluma City Schools. And it could be that other kids in the school district or at other elementary schools in the district have different experiences, but I just think it's so prevalent that for us, it hasn't been discriminatory. It doesn't feel like it anyway. Anyway. High functioning with ADHD, I don't know. I mean, it's not like autism where the spectrum is wide and you go from anywhere like a character like Rain Man to someone who just is a little Aspergery and maybe not as touchy-feely, right? With ADHD, just kind of means that you have trouble focusing, really, and maybe some issues with impulse control. That's what we have at my house. But other than that, yeah, I don't know about high functioning, because I think people with ADHD are probably higher functioning than most of us. Okay, let's jump into some of the stories that I have for you, because I do have some good ones, including this odd creature. What is that? Kind of a weird picture, but I have video as well. And this is video that marine scientists are looking into, trying to learn more about this species called elusive that lives in the deep, deep, deep parts of the ocean. It's called Iioactis vagabanda. Iioactis vagabanda. It's a tentacled deep sea anemone that lives in the Porcupine Abyssal Plain. That's a seabed right off the coast of Ireland. But there were some cameras put in able to withstand the pressure of the deep sea. And it allowed researchers to capture images of this creature. They've published a paper on it in the Deep Sea Research Part 1, Oceanographic Research Papers. They say it usually feeds on this organic particulate matter from the seabed, but it also eats some marine worm species that is sometimes can be even bigger than it is itself. They use their anemones to like tentacles to pull organic particles from the water and then eat them with their mouths. Different sizes, one anemone measuring less than an inch, shown to be feasting on a 4-inch marine worm over the course of 16 hours. And it has 24 tentacles. So it spends hours creating new burrows and moving from burrow to burrow in between feedings. You can see it burrowing here. That's what it's doing. They saw 18 of these over an 8-hour interval over 20 months. One of them they watched in 20-minute intervals over 2 weeks and were able to take more than 29,000 usable pictures of this thing. The anemones are likely the most prevalent species in this porcupine abyssal plain off of Ireland. They say that the feeding patterns of this creature make it a critical carbon cycler. That as the global warming intensifies and the ocean heats up, they may need to be looking at further seafloor exploration for species like this that could be helpful at climate mitigation strategies involving the ocean. And I do have that video that maybe we can watch together. And here is what it looks like. Let me see if I can pull it up here. There it is. And now you can see it. This little sea anemone. And if you watch, you can see it moving and burrowing in this area. And there it is. It's kind of hard to see, isn't it? You kind of see its outline and its shadow on the sea floor from the bright lights. Look at 24 tentacles. Yeah, 24 of them. We've never seen anything like this. Kind of interesting just to watch it move down there. So that's this mysterious creature. I am fascinated by it. I spent a lot of time watching that video. How about this one? These are some fast ducks. Look at that guy go. As a matter of fact, this is not the first time that this type of thing has happened in Switzerland, where there are speed cameras on this roadway, a traffic monitoring camera in this little Swiss town of Konis. And this duck was flying so fast that it triggered the speed limit. It broke the speed limit and triggered the speed camera to take an image of this male duck. He was going, and you think of ducks as just kind of slow, maybe just in some cases using their wings to flap to go a few feet, right, and then come back down. This male duck was flying 32 miles an hour in a 12-mile-an-hour driving zone. And so the speed camera clicks on, catches him. And what's interesting about this is it happened 7 years to the day after the same thing happened in the very same spot with another duck flying too fast and triggering the speed camera. It happened on April 13th of 2025, and it happened on April 13th of 2018, flying 32 miles an hour, the exact same speed in the exact same spot. Crazy. They think the two photos might actually be of the same bird returning to the scene of his original traffic crime for a repeat offense. They say this is not a late April Fool's joke, everyone. The computers that control the camera are inspected, they're calibrated annually, the stored photos are sealed, they're impossible to manipulate. So it happened again on the same day 7 years later. Who knew a duck could fly at 32 miles an hour? That's pretty fast. Yeah. And there's a 12 mile per hour zone. That's a really slow. You have to roll down that street so slow. I guess things are a little different in the Swiss town of Konis. Go birdie go. I don't think they'll be able to sight you. It'll be okay. How about this story about coyotes in a graveyard? This one comes from SF Gate, and I do have video of it. This coyote was spotted in a graveyard by someone trying to go visit. And they say that it was disturbing, but and I'll tell you in just a moment what the folks at the graveyard had to say about it. Here is the photo. Oops. I'm sorry. Can you guys see this? It's taking me to a different place. I'm trying to make it big so you guys can see it. You see that coyote back there digging right next to a gravestone? I know it's kind of hard to see. There it is. I can make it a little bigger. Right next to this gravestone, you can see this coyote just digging away. Yeah, I'll start it again so you can see it. And this woman said she watched this coyote in this grave at this Bay Area cemetery digging and digging and digging right by the headstone. Happened at the Holy Cross Catholic Cemetery in Colma. This woman was sitting in her car trying to figure out what was going on here near one of the headstones where this coyote was digging in the soft soil right next to one of the markers. And it would stop for a minute as a bird flew past or whatnot, and then go right back to digging in the soil. And she said she's been going to the cemetery in Colma regularly since 1999 and has never seen this type of thing happen before. This went on for quite a few minutes. And she said, "This is weird." She said, "It seems like a weird place to dig for a den." And one of her kids said, "Well, maybe the animal's hungry." So the folks that oversee this Catholic cemetery, the Archdiocese of San Francisco, they have a communications director named Peter Marlowe who spoke with SF Gate and says, actually, the kid has some knowledge here. They say that gophers and ground squirrels are a problem at the cemetery and that there are ways to try to eradicate them, but that the gophers and the squirrels then draw the coyotes to the cemetery, and the coyote is likely digging in a gopher hole or at a gopher area or wherever they smell these creatures may be located. There is a process, says Mr. Marlowe, for removing these rodents, that in this area that was dug up by this coyote, they've already refilled the hole in the ground. And they realize that it looks disturbing, like maybe the animal is trying to dig up a grave, but that's not what's happening. They want to reassure people that there's state code governing the depth of burials that help protect the loved ones. And they have concrete burial vaults as well, used to protect the caskets so that creatures like this wouldn't be able to get in. The coyotes, though, go where the food is. So if that means that the squirrels or the gophers or the voles or whatever it may be are in the grass at the cemetery, then that's where the coyotes go. So it's kind of interesting. They say it would take a long time for them to get down that low anyway, but kind of fascinating video taken in a Colma cemetery. Interesting. More stories for you. How about the three-eyed moth? This picture is so cool that I wanted to do this story, even though it's not really new information. It's just details about this ancient three-eyed sea moth that breathed using its rear end. It's been extinct for 506 million years. It is no, it is 506 million years old, but it's extinct now. I don't know how long it's been extinct for, but it's 506 million years old. It's named after the Japanese monster Mothra, and it's interesting that paleontologists are still uncovering new things about this type of creature. It was found in Canada's Burgess Shale, and it's called Mosura fentoni. It is about the size of your index finger, that's how big it is. And the findings on this creature are published in the journal Royal Society Open Science. Looking at the fossils, researchers think Mosura had 3 eyes, spiny jointed claws, and a circular mouth lined with teeth. They think its body had swimming flaps along the side, like you see here, and that this was part of an extinct group of small early arthropods called radiodonts. There's a 3-foot-long predator, Anomalocaris carcass, Anomalocaris canadensis. It was also a radiodont that lived around the same time as Mosura, but Mosura had something they say wasn't seen in any other radiodont, with an abdomen-like body region made up of several segments and its back similar to living insects and other arthropods. They say it had 16 tightly packed segments lined with gills at the rear end of its body. It's an example of evolutionary convergence with modern groups, like horseshoe crabs and woodlice and insects, which all have these segmented bodies bearing respiratory organs at the rear of the body. So Mosura breathed through its butt. They don't know why Mosura has this adaptation. They think maybe particular habitat preference or behavioral characteristics that required more efficient respiration. They've named Mosura the sea moth due to these board swimming flaps near the midsection. It's interesting. They distant relative of Mosura, the real moth as well. The radiodonts, the first group of arthropods to branch out in the evolutionary tree. And so researchers say it provides key insight into ancestral traits for the entire group of radiodonts. This species emphasizes these early arthropods were already surprisingly diverse and adapting in comparable ways to their distant modern relatives. Interesting. They also show, by the way, this creature, similar elements in the nervous system, the circulatory system, and the digestive tract to later arthropods. So could be an evolutionary link, but the 3 eyes kind of freaked me out a little bit. This one freaks me out too. It's hard to see what she's doing. This lady is hanging by her hair. Yeah. And she's got a world record because of it. I don't know how you feel about having your hair pulled or that, but I'm such a baby. I must have a really sensitive scalp because I don't my when my hair is even yanked a little bit, it hurts. And here's this woman, like a total boss, hanging by her hair for 25 minutes. And to me, it's like, ow. She's a professional circus performer. She specializes in hair hanging because it's a thing. Her name is Leila. She's 39, and was suspended by her hair for 25 minutes and 11.3 seconds. And she did it at a scenic spot in the Redwoods in Northern California, Redwoods National and State Parks. It's the Guinness record for the longest time suspended by the hair. And she said it took her 2 hours of practice and endurance building to break the old record, which was 23 minutes, 19 seconds, set by an Australian lady back in 2011. They say that she says the goal with this record is to prove what can be done with the power of the mind. I would think hanging by your hair for that long would rip a lot of it out or rip all of it out to suspend your full body weight hanging by just your hair. I don't know. I've got some thick hair. If you had thinner hair, yeah, yeah. This story gives me the heebie-jeebies. I can't even imagine doing that or wanting to do it. Rhonda sent in this story. Thank you, Rhonda, for this. This is a cool story about snake venom from the BBC. The snake anti-venom was made from this man who was bitten 200 times. It's being called unparalleled. This man named Tim from the United States deliberately injected himself with snake venom for nearly 2 decades. And this phenomenon has led to unparalleled antivenom. That antibodies found in Tim's blood have been shown to protect against fatal doses from a wide range of species in animal tests. The current therapies right now have to match the specific species of venomous snake to anyone who has been bitten by a snake. So you couldn't give rattlesnake venom to venom for, I don't know, pick any other snake, right? It has to match. But this mission by this man, Tim, could be a significant step in finding a universal antivenom that would work against all snake bites. Wouldn't matter. You go into the ER, they give you the universal antivenom, done. Right? Could save a lot of lives. Snake bites kill up to 140,000 people a year, leave as many as 3 times that needing amputations or facing permanent disability. Listen to this guy. I mean, you've got to be definitely on a mission. Tim has endured more than 200 bites and more than 700 injections of venom that he prepared from some of the world's deadliest snakes, including multiple species of mambas, cobras, taipans, and kraits. He said he wanted to build up his immunity to protect himself when he was handling snakes, and he does all of this on YouTube. He's a former truck mechanic. He said he completely screwed up early on when 2 cobra bites in quick succession left him in a coma. And he said he didn't want to die, and he didn't want to lose a finger, but he also didn't want to miss work. So he decided that he would develop better therapies for the rest of the world. So he said it became a lifestyle for him, and he just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And there you go. Look what he did. He said, for the people who are 8,000 miles away from me who die from a snake bite, I wanted to push faster and harder. Right now, the way they do it is they make this anti-venom by injecting small doses of snake venom into animals like horses, and then their immune system fights the venom and produces these antibodies that are harvested then to be used as the therapy. And that's why the venom and the anti-venom have to be closely matched, because the toxins from one snake vary from the toxins to another. And even in the same species, there's some variety in the venom. The anti-venom made from snakes in India is less effective against the same species found in Sri Lanka. So you don't know, right? This team of researchers started looking for a type of immune defense called broadly neutralizing antibodies. Instead of targeting the part of a toxin that makes it unique, they target the parts that are common to the entire class of toxin. And that's when they came across Tim. The doctors say immediately they were thinking if anyone in the world has developed these broadly neutralizing antibodies, it's going to be this guy. So they reached out. The first call was like, I think this might be awkward, but I'd love to get my hands on some of your blood. So Tim says yes, and they get ethical approval. And then they focus their research on his blood, on something called elapids, used in neurotoxins in their venom to paralyze victims, which can be fatal if it stops our muscles that we need to breathe. So interesting. They picked 19 elapids identified by the World Health Organization as being among the deadliest with snakes on the planet. And then they started looking in his blood, Tim's blood, for protective defenses. They published their work in the journal called Cell, and they identified 2 neutralizing antibodies that could target 2 classes of neurotoxin. Again, called unparalleled. Look how many people Tim's likely to save. And thanks again to Rhonda for that interesting story. He's lucky. I don't know if he knew what he was doing by injecting all this stuff into his blood. A little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, trying to make your own anti-venom vaccine thing in your home. Yeah, no. Can we talk about broken heart syndrome for a moment? It's sad. You lose someone. You've heard these cases where couple's been married for 50, 60 years, what have you, and one partner dies and then the other goes soon after. It's a story I found on NBC that indicates men are more likely to die of broken heart syndrome, and this is usually brought on by a stressful event like losing a loved one, sometimes divorce as well. Some people could experience chest pain and shortness of breath, and it's called broken heart syndrome. Doctors formally call it Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, broken heart syndrome. It's triggered by physical or emotional stress, which releases bursts of stress hormones like adrenaline that prevent people's hearts from contracting properly. Most patients, they say, recover quickly, but some suffer heart failure. Though broken heart syndrome is most common in women, men die from it at more than twice the rate. This is according to this new study published today in the Journal of the American Heart Association. The study looked at 200,000 adults in the United States hospitalized with broken heart syndrome from 2016 to 2020. 11% around of men died in that group, compared with about 5% of the women. So it shows or reinforces the data that higher mortality rates involve men in this case. The doctors at the Women's Cardiovascular Research at NYU Langone Health say it seems consistent in this finding that men don't get Takotsubo syndrome as much, but when they do, they get it worse. And the differences between men and women could have something to do with what's triggering their condition. In men, doctors think the broken heart syndrome is most often brought on by a physical stressor, like surgery or a stroke. And in women, it's typically emotional, like losing a job, losing a loved one, this type of thing. And that's why they think men may be more at risk for dying and having bad outcomes, because they're less susceptible to begin with. So it takes a more dangerous trigger to touch off this syndrome. Very interesting. The research done, by the way, at the University of Arizona's Sarver Heart Center. So they're trying to figure out now what's driving the syndrome and why people die from it in rare cases. But speaking of broken hearts, how about loneliness? This is a story about how hearing aids can help prevent loneliness. This according to a study that hearing aids fight Loneliness, especially among seniors. A lot of seniors with hearing loss can't hear well enough to maintain social connection, so they retreat. And a new study says hearing aids appear to be an effective method of countering this epidemic of loneliness. That seniors given hearing aids retained more friends than others who weren't provided these devices. The research appears in the JAMA Internal Medicine Journal this week. On Monday, it was published. The people with hearing aids retained an average of one additional person in their social network over 3 years, compared to a group only provided tips on healthy aging. The researchers say that results support efforts to incorporate hearing aid coverage into Medicare as a means of addressing social isolation epidemics going on in the United States and elsewhere, which can be risky for the elderly. The research primarily done, again, at NYU Langone Health in New York City. Don't know if it's Langone or Langone. But the researchers say making sure Americans can continue engaging with their family and friends as they age is a critical part of maintaining their quality of life. More than a quarter of seniors say they have little to no contact with others, and a third report feeling lonely. Loneliness and hearing loss have also been linked to depression, heart disease, cognitive decline, and early death. 2/3 of seniors 70 and older suffer from hearing loss. They say hearing plays a vital role in communication and social connection, and that people who are hard of hearing, like myself, might struggle to maintain relationships as well. So, for the research, they tracked nearly 1,000 men and women with hearing loss in Maryland, North Carolina, Minnesota, Mississippi. Half of them were given hearing aids, as well as counseling sessions and personalized instruction from an audiologist. And they were provided tools when necessary, like adapters to connect your hearing aid to the TV. The other half were only given advice on healthy aging. They gave them exercise tips, strategies to communicate with your doctor, but no hearing aids, no hearing assistants. And they measured then the social isolation by tracking how regularly they spent time with other people and assessing the size and the variety of their social networks. Before the study, both groups reported feeling equally lonely. 3 years later, loneliness scores improved among the hearing aid group, but worsened among those who didn't have the hearing aids. Isn't that interesting? The findings add evidence that helping aging patients hear better can also enrich their social lives and boost their mental and physical well-being. But it's expensive because hearing aids and audiology appointments cost an average of $4,700. That's usually paid out of pocket. They're going to keep this study going. They're going to follow these people for another 3 years. I have to tell you that I just got, I don't want to say it's hearing aids, and I don't know if I'm going to be using them. My hearing loss comes from years of wearing headphones, being at rock concerts, working in radio in both music and news, and the headphones have taken a toll on my hearing. It's common with people that were in the radio industry. And so uh Apple came out with these AirPods that now have this hearing aid component. And so I've been trying it out this week, and it's making a difference. I can hear my kids saying things that my husband has been telling me for a while that I've been missing out on hearing some of the things they're saying. So it seems like it's helping. I would call my hearing loss moderate, but I can see that this would be important to help people maintain those connections. So, okay. Oh, you know what? I want to make sure we get to our waterfalls today. And I know that we're pushing it on time now that it's 2:00, 2:01. So let's do it. It is Waterfall Wednesday, and we're going to the Middle East. Yes, we are. There are some waterfalls in the Middle East that are absolutely incredible. The first waterfall I found to show you is in Jordan. Here it is. Look at that. They even have a little pool down below. How nice is this? This is called the Mayin Waterfall in Jordan. As a matter of fact, this complex is located in the Wadi Zarqa area. It's a valley with a desert and this oasis setting, known for its lush flora and mineral springs. And this waterfall, water flows toward the Dead Sea. It cascades down this mountain. Apparently, way back when, Romans were known to have bathed in the valley's springs in the past. Look, they have the waterfall and all the umbrellas set up, and then there's the springs, the pool right behind. What a picturesque setting. Again, this is the Mayin waterfall, and that's located in Jordan. And then let's take a look at this one in Lebanon. It's called the Afka waterfall, AFQA, the Afka waterfall. And it looks beautiful. I have this one. I'll make sure. My apologies for the delay on the picture on this one, but it sure is beautiful. The Afka waterfall. Look at that. Isn't that nice? It is a waterfall in the Lebanese city of Byblos, also known as Jabil, and it has a pretty interesting story. Water gushes out of a limestone cave to produce this lake below. The name Afka loosely translates as source because the waterfall is created by the water pouring from the Adonis River. This is claimed to represent the birth and the death of Adonis, the Phoenician deity of beauty and of passion. That's a beautiful waterfall. Look at that. It looks like another one of those waterfalls that you could get behind, doesn't it? And look at it from the backside. This next one, I have to say, it's not really a waterfall that you think of when you think Middle East. This looks like absolute paradise. It's really shifting my perceptions of what the Middle East looks like. This is incredible. This is in Oman. It's called the Ain Athum. It's a waterfall in Salalah, Oman, only visible during the monsoon season. But when it rains, it rushes through this beautiful green forest of Jabal Kara and then into the lake below. It is one of the most beautiful vistas, resembling this slice of paradise on earth. It really looks like paradise on earth, doesn't it? It's also one of the main tourist spots in this region. There are guided excursions available here as well. But look at that. So pretty. Look at the color of the water in the pool below and the green, lush surroundings. And again, that's in Oman. Changes your thoughts a little bit about geography in this area. It's not all, the pictures we see of brown mountains and caves and deserts, even cities that may look, I don't know, dry. No, look at that. So those are three of these most stunning waterfalls in the Middle East. We have the Mayin in Jordan, the Afka in Lebanon, and the Ain Athum in Oman. Just so pretty. Again, look at those. Does that not change your perspective a little bit? So beautiful. And that is Waterfall Wednesday. Hope it was a little bit relaxing, seeing all those pretty waterfalls. Let's mention this interesting fossil. You can see that it has feathers. For the first time, we now understand a little bit more about this fossil. It's the Archaeopteryx. And we now have some new details about this moment in evolution. This dinosaur, researchers now think it could fly, kind of like a chicken flies, but that this could represent a key moment in evolution linking dinosaurs to birds, their avian descendants. Paleontologists still have a lot of questions about all of this, and one of them is how this Archaeopteryx managed to fly above other dinosaurs in this area. But this fossil spent more than 2 decades in a private collection, and it's now finally arrived at Chicago's Field Museum. Before it made its public debut, experts spent a year preparing and analyzing it. And what they're discovering, they say, is helping understand what made even the earliest avian dinosaur so special. They published their findings in a study on May 14th in the journal Nature. They said when they first got Archaeopteryx, they thought, this is pretty cool. They were beyond excited, and they still had some doubts about it. They weren't sure what new things they would learn. But they say the specimen is so well preserved and so well prepared that they're learning a bunch of new information from all the way from the tip of its snout to the top of its tail. So just fascinating. I'm sorry, Mark is texting me. I have to tell him that we're recording an interview. So yeah. Mark, if you're listening to me on the after party live, your interview's at 2:30. So there you go. Okay. He says, okay. All right. Sorry about the interruption. So they had some challenges looking into this and doing some examinations, trying to figure out the difference between the fossilized remain and the rock around it. And so they used a CT scanner to check it out. They do think that it has fluorescent feathers, or it had fluorescent feathers, that there was a unique composition that caused their soft tissues to fluoresce. And so they used UV lighting to help figure out what was lighting up because of the rock and the soft tissues missed by the human eye. A fascinating dino bird. They looked at its feet, its hands, its head, its wing feathers. The bones and the roof of its mouth even helped understand the evolution of this creature, and a feature as well found in modern birds that allows them to move their beak independently of their brain case. I didn't know they could do that. So they say it's important because it's been hypothesized that being able to evolve specialized skulls for different ecological reasons might have helped birds evolve into more than 11,000 species today. They even did kind of a test flight, trying to figure out how this thing could have flown. They say it had feathered wings for flying, and it comes in the evidence of this comes in the form of tertials or tertials, this set of feathers on its long upper arms. And without them, they say it's unlikely this animal could have ever achieved ability to get airborne. If you're trying to fly, according to these researchers, having a long upper arm bone can create a gap between the primary and secondary features of the wing and the rest of your body. And if air passes through that gap, it disrupts the lift you're generating and you can't fly. They say most modern birds solve this issue by evolving shorter appendages to accompany their tertial feathers. But even though this creature, Archaeopteryx, possessed long arm bones, it also had proportionately sized tertials. They say many of the dinosaur relatives evolved feathers, but they stopped at the elbow and they lacked the tertials necessary for flight, which tells the researchers that a lot of non-avian dinosaurs couldn't fly, but that this one, Archaeopteryx, actually could. So interesting. They think it behaved, though, less like a high soaring falcon and more like a chicken that could just jump from distance to distance. Although we saw that duck earlier, and boy, did that thing fly. It was on the move. All right. Lastly, I'd like to talk about this robot that was given a task to solve a Rubik's Cube, and they did. As a matter of fact, and I have video for you, I'll take away the archaeopteryx. The robot was fast as well, really fast at solving this Rubik's Cube. Here it is. This happened at Purdue University. I have the video ready to go. And here it is. Look how fast. I love how much fun they're having.
That's cool. The current world record is held by a team of engineers at Mitsubishi, right? Giant multinational corporation, set a world record. What's behind me right now is a team of Purdue undergraduate students who said, you know what, I think we can do better. And they did.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Yeah, so basically we are a world record holder, the current world record holder for the fastest machine to solve a Rubik's Cube. We currently have a time of 103 milliseconds, and we can very reliably solve under the current world record of 305 milliseconds. Well, the previous world record holder. Put it in perspective, a human blink is around 200 to 300 milliseconds. So we're significantly faster than that. Human reaction time is 100 and 200 as well. So we're faster than that. Basically, before you even realize it's solved, we've solved it. Before you even realize it's moving, we've solved it. The cubes are really the biggest limitation at this point. The cubes themselves just kind of disintegrate. The pieces just snap in half and fall apart. Yeah. We did a lot of mechanical interior optimization inside the Rubik's Cube. We designed a custom internal core that holds all the pieces together stronger because the old one was very weak. And we also do a lot of optimization inside each centerpiece to ensure we basically just don't slip or have turn in places happen. The senior design was able to really bring together all our knowledge that we've learned from other coursework, and it kind of brings everything together. It really shows that you can combine all the different things you learned since your freshman year, and you can apply that knowledge into something that comes together looking really cool. Once you finally get that new best time of beating the world record, it's almost a relief. You're so excited, working on it for like a year. You built it in just one semester for senior design, and all of a sudden you beat it, and it's like, whoa, look what we did. We did it. We really honestly didn't even expect to get 100 and 103. At one point we had to solve 119 milliseconds, and I was starting to tell the professors working with us, we were like, we might not be able to hit that again. We might not be able to do that. And then we found ways to push it even farther, get it to 103. And now we're really trying. We're gonna give one last little effort to try and push below 100 milliseconds, so we can say we're even faster. Less than a tenth of a second. But realistically, I think 103 milliseconds is gonna be very tough to beat.
I get to go around the country and talk about, Purdue electrical and computer engineering all the.
So there you go. They had it done before we could even blink. That's crazy how fast that happened. Amazing. So they've got the Guinness World Record for solving the Rubik's Cube by robot, 0.103 seconds. That's wild. They called it a Purdue's Cube now because of how fast they solved it. So I do want to take a moment to thank some people that have contributed to the After Party Live. You can always find the PayPal link and set up a monthly contribution if that's something you're interested in doing. The link is in the show description every day, and it's also in the About tab here on YouTube. But I do want to thank Wes, who threw in $5 today. Thank you for that. Also, Scott R., who has a recurring payment that came through for 10. Wes yesterday for 5. Also, a recurring payment from Amy S. for 10. Yvonne for 5. You guys are so nice and so kind. I just really appreciate you supporting the show in this way. And thank you to Louise, who came in with a really lovely comment and a super chat super sticker today for $5. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday. I'm excited. I get to go see a band and choral concert tonight. Jacob took chorus instead of band in 5th grade, but tonight he gets to play the piano and do some ukulele as his group sings some songs. So I'm going to the concert tonight, and I love that kind of elementary school music concert. So fun. So that's what I'm doing. Whatever you're doing, make it a really, really good one. I will see you tomorrow, 11 a.m. on the Mark Thompson Show. Mark will be gone, but I'll be there along with JL Kovan, and we'll talk to David Katz, and maybe we'll have some other surprises in store for you as well. So hope to see you there. And then it's Trivia Thursday tomorrow. And please don't forget, tomorrow night at 5, the Nikki Maduro Show. All right. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow on the YouTube. But for now, bye-bye, everybody. I have the closing video. Here it comes. Here it comes.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
One of the things I forgot to mention is that we're doing a personal picture segment. So if you have a personal picture or video that you want to send me, kim@theafterparty.live. Yeah, I'll chit him right up. Yay! Have the best time. How wonderful. Happy graduation. Here's some balloons. Do I have balloons? No, I don't have balloons. I'm trying.